Owl Nation. Owl Nation, it's the best time of the year. I'm going to get straight to the point. FAU will be heading up to Lynchburg, Virginia for the Field of 68 Classic this weekend, Sebastian. Man, this is a tournament that's been going on for 3 years now. If people don't remember, the first time FAU was in this tournament was actually 2 years ago. And fun fact, fun story to tell you guys. This was the year FAU was ranked inside the top 10 nationally preseason. You lose that game to Bryant, the third game of the season. You fall outside the top 15. Then you shock the world. You beat Texas A&M, Butler, and Virginia Tech back to back to back, all by double digits. Get back inside the top 10. Then you host this tournament. And these were some of the best days of my life, even, in fact. Going to the FAU Arena, loudest environment, I think, in all of the mid-majors in those days when we were top 10. You'd see the student section be standing the whole game, the defense chants. You couldn't hear yourself. You couldn't even hear what you were thinking in the stadium. It was that loud. And then Jeff Goodman, absolutely amazing guy for what he does with the sport. He hosted this tournament. And man, I'm just so grateful that Jeff Goodman picked FAU to be a part of this tournament. And it's been a great 2 years so far, and we're excited for the last year of this Field of 68 tournament. But for those who don't know, and I know some of you guys might be confused, who's Field of 68 and why are they hosting a tournament? Well, Field of 68 is a YouTube channel. They cover college basketball, every single team. They pretty much go live every day. They do Field of 68 after dark. And a great friend of mine, Jeff Goodman, someone who I've contacted a lot, is actually host of the tournament. So really excited for that indeed. And Sebastian, I first off want to ask you, how cool is it and how blessed are we that FAU's in this tournament?
Yeah. We're super blessed because it can show the opportunity that FAU has upon them, and it can show them FAU is a very serious ball club. And Jeff Goodman, like you said, is hosting this tournament, which is kind of big. But two big games in this tournament for FAU: Charleston and Liberty, which we'll get to that in a minute with our preview. Two of those big games, man. Could FAU lose both games, or will they win both games? That's going to be a very tough game because obviously you said we can probably split, probably win against one and then lose against one. But let's just see, man. Both teams are very good, and I'm super excited for the matchups.
Yes, Sebastian, I agree with you as well, and it's going to be really interesting to see who comes out on top. Let's go back a couple years in history and go back and revisit a couple years ago. So FAU, when they hosted it in year one of the tournament, absolute reckoning win over Liberty, won by 30 plus. Remember that game like it was yesterday. Then we're down against Charleston by, I think, 10 points at the half. We come back, we win against Charleston by like 15. Absolute amazing adjustments by now Michigan head coach Dusty May, who was the previous head man here with the Owls. Love to see how we got the guys fired up heading into the second half, something that we'll get into later that we are expecting Coach Jacobs to improve upon. But again, big win. We went 2-0 2 years ago last year. Overtime loss to Charleston. That was a game in which we should have won. Charleston had a guy go off for 40 points, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean, it was really hard to stop them, and they scored 120 plus, and then we do beat Liberty in that. So I think we went 2-1 or 1-1 last year and 2-0 the year before. So overall 3-1. So if we can go 2-0, that would be a very successful 6-game stretch. That'd be 5-1. But it's going to be really hard, Sebastian. Both Liberty and Charleston rank inside the top 10 in the preseason mid-major rankings. Let's start with Charleston because we play them tomorrow. What kind of stands out to you about this Charleston team?
Yeah, the standouts, honestly, are their size. They have multiple bigs, like 7'2", like Wemby height. You know what I mean? So definitely their size. because our bigs, honestly, I don't know if they can match up. But it's going to be very interesting. Honestly, I really like their size and their athleticism. Those are the two main factors that really stand out to for Charleston. So that's going to be a very big test for FAU. So honestly, I'm pretty
Yeah.
excited about that. So
Yes, Sebastian. Speaking of size, they have two guys who are 7 foot plus, and Troll Marcotte and Christian Reeves, 7 foot and 7'2", respectfully. If you're Devin Williams, who's 6'10", and if you're Xander Pintelon, who's 6'10", how are we gonna want to go up against them? Are we gonna want to play maybe a 3-2 zone, or I mean a 2-3 zone where we get three guys down low? How do you kind of see the defensive game plan?
yeah, probably the 2-3-1, the three guys in the paint. That's uh, probably the best defensive scheme for John Jacobs because the man. I don't know if you go man this game because they didn't go man to man. I believe against Boston College, they went to zone, which honestly kind of worked well in the first half. But obviously, as the second half progressed, honestly, kind of starts slow and sluggish. Obviously, like you said before we started this pod, John Jacobs, obviously has a good first half, leads by a couple points, maybe like 4 or 5, and then has a terrible start to the second half. So obviously, you got to keep the control of the pace, keep control of the game, and honestly, don't let this slip away in the second half if you're FAU. So honestly, that's probably the best bet. Go for a 2-3-1 zone, three bigs in the back. That's probably the best bet against these very oversized Charleston bigs. So that's probably the best bet if you're John Jacobs.
Yeah, I agree with you. And let's talk a little bit about the Charleston so far this season. So you win in game one against a D2 team, Tuscaloosa. Then you play the opening night of the Field of 68 against Liberty. You lose 90-75, Sebastian. This was not a solid game for Charleston. They got outplayed all night long. Leading scorer, though, was Martin Kula. This is a guy who's a guard. He's a freshman guard. He's very, very shifty. He's an excellent shooter. And this is a guy who is from Germany. He's one of these international guys. FAU, Yohan Sissoko, international guard for us. He's gonna be huge. We got so many other international players, including Nicola Moretti, Xander Pintelon, the list goes on and on. And I think it's going to be a solid matchup, but he was the leading scorer, Martin Kula. So we have to watch out for him. Troll McCaw, we talked about him, 7'2". He had 18 points and 10 rebounds in just 25 minutes. So, again, if I expect him to play more than 25 minutes, and if he continues to get those offensive rebounds, FAU's in trouble because we got out rebounded by 11 to Boston College, Sebastian. If we get out rebounded by 11 again tonight or tomorrow, I don't see a way in which we win. We have to keep that rebounding battle super, super tight because they are bigger than us inside and down low. So that 2-3 zone might be the play. We saw 1-3-1 against BC. In that 1-3-1, Braden Kepka kept getting offensive rebounds. But again, I mean, should we be scared of Charleston because their defense it has size, but you give up nearly 60 to a Division II team, and then you give up 90 to Liberty.
Yeah, I wouldn't say scared. I would probably say probably like nervous, I guess. I mean that's kind of the same thing. But honestly, I going into this game, I know if you're at FAU, I'm feeling kind of confident going into this game. I mean, I'm a very optimistic person, but I feel like it's going to be a dogfight going down to the wire, just like Boston College. I don't know if it goes to overtime, but like you said, getting out rebounded by 11, especially on the offensive glass where we could have gotten the rebounds. I feel like that was our biggest, thing, probably the biggest problem. That's what kept Boston College mostly in that game against FAU in that second half. So yeah, honestly, that's probably the biggest way FAU could lose this game. I'm not saying FAU will lose this game. Obviously, Charles Morant, um, a 7 foot big, which is insane. So, yeah, that's probably biggest reason why we might lose this game is the rebounds.
Yeah, 100%. Two 7-footers, as you mentioned, that we have to watch out for. Let's get into some of the big stats that really stuck out to me from Charleston last season. So they had 16 assists per game, which led the CAA, and only 11 turnovers. That's a +5 assist to turnover rate. They don't really turn the ball over. They share the ball and move the ball. They had more passes than any other team in the CAA. And their offensive rhythm is inside out with a lot of spacing. They space the floor really well, and they have balanced scoring threats. We mentioned the 7-footers, and then we mentioned the lead guy, Martin Kula, 22 points. Um, it's going to be really interesting to see this game, but I think FAU should want to win this game by double digits. So if they just lost to Liberty by double digits, and think about it, Sebastian, we beat Division II Florida Tech by what was it, 50? It was 110 or 112 to 64, something around that. So
Yeah.
50 points, and they only beat a Division II team by 20. So I'm not comparing Florida Tech to Tuscaloosa. I honestly don't know how good Tuscaloosa is, but I do know that they are Division II. And when you can only beat Division II teams by 20, it's not too optimistic, the outlook. So, what are you expecting?
Yeah, I'm expecting Charleston to move the ball, share the rock, and hit open threes. Obviously they have that guy, Mark Kulu, and also they have a very good guy who can shoot the three, Colby Dugan, very versatile winger. So I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I like that expression on your face, but yeah, both of those guys could be the X factor. Probably will be the X factor during that game. Obviously, they have a lot of spacing, very balancing scoring threats, especially with the bigs that we mentioned. So I'm expecting a lot of offensive power from both of those sides. I'm just excited to see how that goes. Not a lot of defense. I don't think it's going to be a lot of defense. Obviously, we're going to see some blocks here and two, but I think it's going to be an out battle. Like who could score the most points until that final buzzer rings. You know what I mean? So that's probably the biggest. That's what I expect. It's going to be an offensive powerhouse.
Yeah, and the big two things that FAU fans should take into account is this isn't the Charleston of last year, who went 24-9 and 13-5 in the CAA. There's no more Andre Brozovic, the guy from Europe who scored 35 plus last year. There's no more Darren Boyd. There's no more CJ Fulton. So, you lose your top three guys. And Andre Brozovic actually was supposed to be back. His waiver got denied to play a fifth year of college basketball by the NCAA. So he won't be back. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how they play because they play a lot of dribble handoff. We saw FAU utilize the pick and roll with trying to get Kenan Carlisle open off ball screens and either kick out to Xander from the corner or Johan from the corner. But I'm starting to think that this is a game and this is a part in the season where we see Isaiah Elihome take off. He didn't have the greatest night against Florida Tech. He didn't have the greatest night against Boston College. Why? He didn't shoot the ball a lot. He shot the ball 8 times from inside the three-point line and made 5 of them. He was the most consistent guy from 2. I feel like he's going to be the X factor, Sebastian.
Yeah, honestly, that's a good choice for the X factor for FAU. But my X factor, or who I feel like is going to be a big impact in this game, I don't know if you will agree with this, is Amar Diop. I don't know if that's a kind of a hot take. We obviously didn't see him at all against Boston College,
Sure.
but that is the guy that we need out there against Charleston, especially at their size and athleticism. A very good 3-and-D player. That's a perfect fit, honestly. Like he should be the first one at that second unit, coming off the bench as soon as the starters come off. He should be the one that's entering that game. I don't know why John Jacobs didn't really put him against Boston College. I don't know what the reason why. Is it an illness? Is it an injury? I'm not sure, but you saw him against Florida Tech we were there against Florida Tech, and he was sensational, shooting a lot of threes. He was shot 100% from the field. So he is someone that we need out there against Charleston, and I feel like he's going to make a big impact.
I agree with you there for sure. I wanted to mention this, though. It's the fact that, Sebastian, Amara Cudio went off in this scrimmage.
Mm-hmm.
He shot 100%. He shot 3 for 3 from 3, 5 for 5 from the field, 4 for 4 from the line. Why do you think Coach Jake has decided not to play?
Honestly, that's a good reason. I don't know why. Because it couldn't be because of an injury. It can't be. I don't know. That's a very good question.
The thing is that maybe it's because he's a freshman. Maybe matchups didn't work out. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
We talked to Coach Jacobs on Wednesday prior to the Field of 60, and he told us that Nicola Moretti, he's going to be 100% most likely. He's not sure if he should switch up the starting five because Nico was supposed to be in the starting five, didn't play. So we had to end up switching up the starting five where we saw, I think we were supposed to see Vanderpool, Elohim, Williams, Pintalone, and then you could either put Johan Sissoko at that 3 spot. You could also put a guy like, Nico, who we were just talking about. And then the thing is for me is like, are we going to want to switch up the starting five?
Honestly, I don't think we should switch up the starting five. I feel like that would be a big mistake adding Moretti. Obviously, hurt his ankle during practice, before the scrimmage. Honestly, he hasn't really looked that impressive so far. Obviously, he had a couple nice flashes against Boston College, but honestly, put him on the bench until he gets 100%. Put him back in the starting lineup until he gets 100%. I like the starting lineup that we had. Carlisle, Ellie Holm, Vanderpool, Pintalone, and then, Williams. Maybe you put in Johan Sissoko, in that lineup. Nice little shooting there.
And I forgot about Cannon. You got to start.
Yeah.
I want to say this because I think I can really confidently saying this after watching a full 2 games. Mm-hmm. The best 3 players on this team are Cannon, Carlisle, Johan Sissoko, and Xander Pinto. I don't think anyone would disagree with you. Devin had a good 2 games. He might be the best all-around player when it comes to crashing the glass, assists, and points. But your 3 best scorers are Xander, Cannon, and Johan. And the fact that Cannon didn't start in the scrimmage and Johan didn't start in either of the scrimmage or the Boston College game is very concerning. But hopefully we'll see, maybe an adjustment there, here, or there. But remember, the year of the Final Four, Dusty May was the head coach. John O'Davis was going off. He was still coming off the bench. Elijah Martin was going off. He was coming off the bench. Nick Boyd was going off. Heck, he was coming off the bench. You know why? Because Coach May wanted to make sure that we would see no switching up in the lineup after winning games. There's no point. And that's what we saw. That's where we saw, Brandon Weatherspoon and Michael Forrest start. But to get back on topic, I agree with you. So let's get into a little bit about Liberty, and then after that, we'll make some predictions. So Liberty's the best mid-major team. Is anyone going to disagree? We're not including Gonzaga, but I think they're better than Memphis. I think they're the best team we still have on our schedule besides USF, St. Mary's, and UCF. I think Liberty's the 4th hardest team we still have on our schedule. Is there any disagreement from you on that?
No, I don't disagree. I feel like that's the hardest non-conference opponent during our schedule is Liberty.
Really?
Obviously.
Over St. Mary's?
Probably, honestly. Definitely, in my opinion. I think we can beat St. Mary's. Liberty is a way tougher matchup, in my opinion. Obviously, they won the conference last year, 28-7, and then they went 13-5 in their conference USA and swept both regular season and tournament titles. Um, has great strength, has great size, great length, and honestly can really cause some trouble to our guards in the backcourt. So I think that's going to be a tough matchup. I think we lose to Liberty and then beat Charleston, but obviously we haven't had predictions. We're going to talk about Liberty. That's definitely the hardest schedule in our
Yeah,
conference is Liberty, 100%.
I'm gonna have to disagree. I'm gonna have to say UCF slightly better than Liberty, and I'm gonna have to say St. Mary's is better than UCF. Even I'm really high on St. Mary's, and we'll get it. We'll
Wow.
cross that road when that time comes. But St. Mary's is top 25 level. Who's some of the personnel we should be watching out for on Liberty?
Obviously, the three returning starters for Liberty. You said Liberty, right? Yeah. Okay. Is definitely Caden Mathena. I think that's how you say his name. I'm
But
sorry
then,
if I Mathena. Yeah. I have trouble pronouncing people's names, but obviously 13 points per game and shot 102 threes or made 102 threes during the Conference USA tournament, and he won the MVP in that tournament. So I think he's going to be a real spark plug during that game against FAU. Let's see how he does. Obviously, a very good three-point shooter, and he plays with a bit of an edge. He has super aggressive, can get through the lane, can draw a very contact foul. So I think he's going to be a very tough matchup for either Carmen Carlisle or Isaiah Eliholm. Definitely probably are going to be our starters during that game. And another big name is Zach Cleveland. Maybe a Conference USA potential candidate with 11 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists per game, and led all forwards in assists that's during last season. He does a lot of things. A great leader, and a very good point forward. So that's one of the guys that I'm really looking out for. And then another guy for Liberty is Colin Porter, a very good floor general, very good guard, 9 points, and he averaged 4.3 assists. And he shot 43% from three, which is very, very good for Porter. So those are the three main guys for Liberty: Cleveland, Caden, and then Porter.
yeah, and one of the other guys who went off today, who came off the bench, Brett Decker, he had
Yeah.
a really nice night tonight, 21 points. And you mentioned Porter, 23 points. We also saw Caden Metheny, the guy you mentioned. He had 18 points. So, a lot of good guards for sure. They have a lot of depth, and we almost saw three guys score 20 plus. We did see two guys. So FAU's really got to defend the wing because these guys on Liberty can shoot the three. You mentioned Caden Metheny's 3-point success, 102 threes made. He's a killer from the perimeter. Let's talk about some of the new incoming transfers, Sebastian.
Yeah, some of the new incoming transfers from Minnesota, Isaiah Athene, I think that's how you call him. I'm sorry if I pronounced that name wrong. Um, Obviously, was not healthy, a couple seasons, but he's a very big, very skilled guard. Can make a lot of shots in multiple areas down the floor. So I think that's one of the names that Liberty can use. Another big name is Josh Smith, a Stetson transfer. Just came back from an injury with interior depth and toughness. So I think that's one of the big guys that can cause some of our front court. Obviously, Pentalone is kind of strong, but obviously doesn't really have that frame that screams toughness and very aggressiveness. So Josh Smith is another person that can cause some trouble for our guys. Also, another guy is J.J. Harper from transfer from West
Great name.
Liberty. Yeah, very very good guy. Averaged 15 points, 5 rebounds, and 3.2 assists. A very good guard, a very veteran guard who knows how to win. And obviously, he has experience playing college basketball for multiple seasons. So yeah, that's one of the main guys And also another guy, R.J. Jones Jr., a Virginia Tech transfer, 6'8", 6'8". That's insane. Very raw, but very talented forward. Also 240 in size. So yeah, very big forward. So yeah, I'm excited to see. Those are some of the main guys from Liberty that came to Liberty from the transfer portal. So yeah, lots of talent. Definitely on the bench and definitely in the starting. So that's going to be super unique, and I'm excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I'm also very excited to see how that plays out for sure. If you're FAU and let's say this is a tournament where, if you win against blank, you either play Liberty and Charleston. If you're FAU and you could only choose one, who would you rather play between the two?
Repeat the question again.
Who would you rather play between Liberty and Charleston if you're FAU?
Honestly, like I said, I think we beat Charleston and lose to Liberty, so I'm gonna say Charleston. The only reason why I say that is because I don't think Charleston can really guard the perimeter. I feel like we can shoot the three multiple ways. We can find ways to score the basketball. So I think it's going to be very tough. I think Charleston is kind of more of an inside the paint type of team. I think they can lock down the interior with their size and their strength. But obviously with those 7 footers. So I think that's the team that I want to play. I feel like for Liberty, they have multiple ways to attack and defend. Obviously, with the guards that we mentioned, they can definitely shoot the three. So I think Liberty is more of a tougher matchup. If you're talking about like who I would rather play, I would definitely play Charleston because not saying it's an easier matchup. Both of them are definitely very good teams. I think we can definitely. I think there's a possibility that we can lose to both of those teams. But if I'm taking who I'd rather play last game of the season for the championship, it's definitely Charleston over Liberty.
Yes, Sebastian. So I didn't want to get into predictions because we're going to get into that in a little bit. You played a little spoiler, but you guys stick around because you'll see who I think is going to win. Let's talk about the Richie McKay effect, Sebastian.
Yeah. Richie, very good guy. Yeah, he's a very good guy for what Liberty, right?
Yeah, head coach.
Yeah, very. Honestly, not really much to say about him, to be honest. I mean, uh, um, you know, if we're talking about a guy with leadership skills and knows how to, play, knows how to win against FAU, it's that guy. Obviously, I believe he hasn't beaten FAU yet, right? But obviously, during the tournament, some years ago, we lost to Charleston. Um, that we were 3-1 in that around 68 tournament. We did beat Liberty, but if we're the head coach, he's looking for revenge. So um, there's a possibility that we can lose to Liberty. So yeah, that's going to be a very tough matchup. He's looking for revenge, but he's he's found ways to poke some holes into our offense, and I think that he's going to find a way to do it. I think it's going to go down to the wire, in my opinion. But yeah, it's going to be a very tough game. Let's see what his game plan is. Is he going to go with a man-to-man? Is he going to go to a zone? In my opinion, I think he might go a defensive scheme, man-to-man defensive scheme, just because their guards are very feisty on the defensive end. So that's definitely going to be the game plan for Liberty. Um, Obviously, they're going to shoot the three really well. So um, that's going to be the main reason why we possibly could lose. So Liberty is going to be a good test. So yeah, that's all I got to say.
Yeah, Sebastian and Richie McKay. This is a guy who built up the program. He's going to get some looks at power forward jobs. He continues to prove that he's one of the best program builders in college basketball. The identity for this team that he's built is ball movement, defense, shooting, culture. Those are the words they live by. They reload every year. They don't rebuild, they reload. So I expect a full season under him of smart and connected basketball and a real shot at March Magic and March Madness and making magic there. But before we get into some predictions, even though you already spoiled them, Sebastian,
Mhm.
let's look at a quick quote of what head coach Richie McKay said about 2 years ago, Sebastian. Very funny here. This is from a good friend of the show, Isaac Edelman, who covered FAU for 2 years. He said, Liberty head coach Richie McKay onto the FAU media. This is the youngest media group I've ever seen. Richie McKay to me. This was actually 2 years ago. You sure you want to do this? Sports media for a living. Of course, that's what I want to do. It's what I love. Love Coach McKay, man. He's a great guy. Great talking to him for sure. And shout out to Isaac Edelman, great friend of the show. Prediction, Sebastian, you already spoiled them.
Yeah,
Let's start with
my bad.
Charleston. Let's start with Charleston. What do you got? Score.
All right, I'm just gonna say the score prediction. I think it's not gonna go to overtime. I think FAU wins 84-75 in a very good game, in my opinion. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we win. Um, but yeah, that's my score prediction for Liberty. I think we win. I think we win. I switched my
Sebastian,
answer. I think we win.
earlier in the show you said we were gonna lose. What made you want to switch up?
Honestly, I just have a gut feeling. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I just have a gut feeling. Just with this team, with that game against Boston College, I think we're gonna find a way to win in overtime. I think we win 92-90, game-winning shot by Johan Sissoko. Let's go! Come on, baby. We believe in the Owls. I don't know. I just have a gut feeling that we win that game, even though I know it's a tough matchup. Richie McKay is going to get his guys on board and find a way to win this game. But I don't know if that happens. I don't know if that happens. I think FAU continues the win streak against Liberty in that game. But yeah, I don't really know much about Richie McKay, but thank you, JJ, for, with that youngest media group. That's insane. That's insane. So I didn't really know that. But yeah, Richie McKay, another L in the books for you, boy. I'm sorry. Let's go FAU.
I love it, Sebastian. To break down both these games, Charleston has size. They can rebound. They can out-rebound anyone, the 2 7-footers we talked about a little bit earlier. We don't have that size. Bowden Koepka gave us so much problems down low when we faced Boston College. And Liberty has those guys. Troy Mahat, 7'2". Reeves, 7 feet. Like, these guys are no guys we should overlook. These are guys who are going to get 20-plus minutes, and especially Christian Reeves. And it's going to be hard to stop. It's going to be a tough matchup. I think we win this game 84-72. I really think the first half we go on a little run due to threes. I really don't think that we should switch up our game style. Let Cannon cook. Let Cannon and Johan cook.
Yep.
Lob it to Xander inside. If Isaiah wants to shoot, do it. There's a few guys, who I'd rather not have the ball in their hands late in games to take the shots. And Coach Jacobs, he likes to play a lot of guys, to play everyone. And I think sometimes we need to be a little more selfish because Cannon really just didn't miss. So if he has the hot hand, keep feeding him. I think we go on that run. I think we win. The Liberty game is going to be coming down to defending the perimeter with all the guys they have. And it's like we're not going to have to – we can't single in on one guy because every single game it seems like they have a different leader. They shoot so many threes. Boston College made a lot of second-half threes. But give me the Owls, baby. Go Owls. High scoring. 98-96. 98-96. Game winner. And who else but Cannon Carlisle?
Wow.
Is he the best player in the American Conference? I think so. I think so. I think it might be early. I think he's a future first rounder. Cannon, Carlisle, let's go. It's up to you, man. A lot of respect for this team. Can't describe how excited I am for this weekend. Have a great Friday night. Stay tuned right here. It's the best FAU site. Man, we've been putting out so much content. Why didn't you subscribe? We've gained 54 subscribers in the last 2 months. We started this 2 months ago. We're already at 55 subscribers. We're trying to be the #1 FAU podcast. So please help us by subscribing.
Yep.
Always change your mind. You don't have to pay. Make sure
It's
to hit
literally
that
for
like
free.
button, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Final thoughts, Sebastian.
Yeah, subscribe. That's the main reason why we do this. It's for the fans, you know what I mean? So, but yeah, thank you, JJ, for having me on. 3-0 for the Owls. Let's go.
Yeah, 1000%. And I think we do this for 3 reasons. I think we do this because we love basketball. We love FAU. That's one reason we love FAU. 2, we do it for the fans. And 3, because we want to inform you guys to the best of our abilities on FAU, keep you updated. No one else is going to every single practice. Nobody else. I can assure you, no one else is at every single practice because I am there every single day, almost every day, especially for football. And also, no one else is doing the research on opposing teams like we are. Hit that like button, subscribe, and as always, go Owls,
Yes,
baby.
sir.